Hi everybody, Leah and the Lights here with my very first movie review. This is actually something I've wanted to do for a long time. I love movies, I've always wanted to review them, and yes, I am ripping off Brad Jones, the cinema snob. But it's a good idea. So I'm gonna take this 15 to 20 minute drive that I always have from my movie theater back home. I am from Jackson, Tennessee, so I'm out in the middle of nowhere, literally the bullseye of West Tennessee, and it's about a 20-minute drive to my house. So I figured I'd take this time to rip off someone else's good work and do my own movie reviews. And I decided to start with The Conjuring 2. Yeah, all the summer blockbusters, and I went with that one. I'll explain why at the end, why I decided to start with this one, but it's just never too late to begin doing what you love. So, what I'd like to do is give you my overall thoughts first, if I recommend it or not. Then I'm probably going to give a spoiler alert and just go through the film, try to recap it as much as I can and give my thoughts as I'm recapping, because that's how I'm going to remember the moments, so that's great. Alright, so let's get started. The Conjuring 1. I didn't really remember it. I got it confused with Annabelle and Oculus and Insidious and all the yeses. And I really wasn't sure which demon possession movie this was, except for that wonderful couple that solved the Amityville stuff and then went on to do The Conjuring with Lily Taylor. Love her. So I remembered the first film after I remembered it was the one with Lily Taylor. And that one was good. I thought it was nice, but it just felt like it belonged in a group with all of those other possession house movies. It didn't stick out to me. Now Conjuring 2 sticks out to me. There are great choices that are made in this film, and one of my favorite words is choices. I like to make choices. And when you're doing an art, you have to stick to a vision, you have to stick to an idea and what you're trying to say with your film, so you have to make bold choices. And what I loved about The Conjuring is there are moments of heart. This might be the only other horror movie besides The Babadook that made me cry. I know. And cry in a way that, like The Babadook made me cry, because of the metaphor that it is. I won't spoil that for you who haven't seen that beautiful movie. It has a very strong allegory in it, and it used the genre of horror to really give you a gut punch, and I loved it. But this one did give me a little moment where I got teary-eyed, because we got to know the characters. One of the strongest things about this film are the actors, the characters. Not only are they well written, but they're wonderfully acted. And there are 4 kids, and they're leads. They're supporting leads. Of course, you have your couple that exercises the house like they did in the previous one. They're back. And of course, you have the parents of the children who are being terrorized. This time it's a single mom. Oh, again! Oh, a Babadook thing. Alright, so it's a single mom again who, honestly, I like her too. She has her moments of just being, she could easily be living in that wonderful show Spaced. Yeah, she could be living in that duplex and be the crotchety woman that lives down, in the bottom of the flat. She also is funny and loves her children, and there's a genuine warmth there, but she's hard. She's gritty. She's got a little, she smokes like a chimney. She doesn't curse, but she speaks very bluntly. I really like the mother character. And her children, who you're really just, that's the first characters besides the couple that investigates paranormal events. The children are who you really meet first. And all 4 of them, you like them all. They all stick out to you. The eldest daughter is very much the protector. She's very smart. She's very funny. There's a maturity to her and her performance that I think really, she doesn't need to say much, and she doesn't. That actress was just showed me everything about a big sister, and everything that she does in the film comes from a place of genuine warmth. All those kids acted like they were siblings, and it's very nice to see when there's not a stretch. Like, I believe these kids. And then there's 2 boys. One doesn't speak very much. He doesn't have too many lines, but he, but he's very cute, and you just love the little whippersnapper. He's very sweet and does what little boys do, be cute, and occasionally stick up for their siblings. But he's the little one. He tries. And then you have the littlest one, who has a speech impediment, and I didn't know how to feel about that at first, because sometimes people give characters things like speech impediments, or, you know, like Finding Nemo, a little floppy fin. They give them something to make you even more empathize with the characters. But the thing is, I'm already empathizing with these characters. I loved all those kids as soon as I met them. They were all charming, all sweet, and funny, and not perfect. You know, they're little brats too. It was just very nice. I didn't need the speech impediment, and it really didn't add anything to the overall film. But if this is based on a true story, if that boy did have that speech impediment, then good on ya. Accurate, wonderful. And we should, you know, not keep people with disabilities out of film. I don't mean that. I just mean that if you're adding it for sympathy, sometimes you just don't need to. Sometimes the actors pull off a performance that's, you don't need it. But overall, the 4th sibling I have not mentioned, because she is the star. This girl will be a star. She is possessed, of course, the possessed one, the one that is most in tune with the spirit, and she knocks it out. I mean, these possession films, I think of course the bar was set with The Exorcist, and you gotta love Reagan. Darn it, I cannot remember that actress's name at this moment on the top of my head, and she's wonderful. But anyway, Reagan and Emily Rose. Once Jennifer Carpenter, I remember her name. Jennifer Carpenter is probably one of the most talented film actresses I've seen in the last decade, and she captured everyone's attention with the possession of the exorcism of Emily Rose. Overall, kind of a pretty typical possession film, but her performance made you, well, it made me terrified of demons possessing my body, and then to find out that Jennifer didn't need any special effects for the contortion she was doing, for her physical performance. No tricks. That was all her. She's crazy good. And then, of course, on Dexter, she's crazy good. And now this little girl in The Conjuring 2, I believed her possession, I believed her fear, especially her fear. She really, really translates. Her eyes do everything. So if you're going to go see this film, I do recommend it. It has heart in places. It does have truly terrifying moments. Of course, jump scares. But what really pulls this film together, the characters and their performances. Absolutely worth seeing. In my opinion, if you like horror films, it's not for everybody. But I have to admit, there were moments in this I thought I would like to share this with people I know don't like horror. It just overall was a good film. And also, before I get into the spoiler town, I have to mention the director. James Wan keeps getting better and better with everything I see of his. And this one, in my opinion, the way he used the frame, the way he used... that'll be spoiler town. The way this is directed, there are so many shots in this, I just thought, this guy, keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna be amongst the greats. You already are. Geez, these movies that you've already made. James Wan is already made, do speak to the horror crowd. They've gained a huge appeal with the Saw films and the other James Wan films that are very much like this one, but this one's the direction, the cinematography. Go see it. And also directing the actors. He directed these actors so beautifully. I recommend it. Go see it. Now let's go into Spoiler Town. And to recap what happens from the last events, no, it begins with just another investigation. The couple that investigates from The Conjuring 1 and in The Conjuring 2 is at what she describes as the closest to hell she's ever been. So at the beginning of the film, she's been terrorized by this vision of her husband getting horribly impaled, and her seeing a weird, creepy nun that's going to kill her. So of course she just says, let's stop. I've had enough. We've had fun, right? Right. So of course, spooky things start happening in merry old England, and not so merry, because there are things that build up very nicely. This family moved into this house when the 4 kids, when their parents were still together. So they moved in with their mom and their dad, and apparently he was a big music lover. He had a big Elvis collection, which does come into play later, and the kids miss him. They realize he's left. They realize that he's left their mom. You find out later he actually knocked up the neighbor. So she kicked him out, and he's never coming back. And she also, the mother, doesn't really feel any need to disclose that with her kids. Unlike the Babadook, where you totally feel the resentment in that mom. This mom is trying to hold it together. And that's why I really like her performance. I think she's showing us that very well. But anyway, of course, spooky things start happening. They build up. And the direction that I'm talking about is some things are predictable. Like there's always a creepy toy. Why does every family have a creepy toy that they should not have because it's creepy? And they say a little poem to the creepy toy because it's one of those spinny dealies, those old-fashioned spinny dealies. You know what I'm talking about. No, they put a picture in them. It's a photo. It's a thing that goes around and it shows you pictures, and when it goes really fast it makes a little film. It's usually just like a horse galloping or a man walking or just a little bitty film. And so I have one of those, and it's got this creepy old gangly Rumpelstiltskin looking mother, and they're reciting this poem about how the crooked man is here in the crooked house with his crooked wife, and this is not my crooked house, and this is not my crooked wife. Anyway, and he's going to capture the crooked mouse in the crooked house. In other words, this is the demon that's going to be after you for the rest of the film.